Okay, here we are at the back of the ATV. We're at the very back end of the space station. We're going 18,000 miles an hour in this direction. And so I'm going to kick off and we'll do a quick fly through the stack of the International Space Station. We'll pass some fun things on the way. Oh, dobre outra. Dinner table again, got Max. Ah!
It's very difficult to squeeze through the rocket segment.
Especially when Max is here. And now we're going through into the FGB. Looks like we got a nice flight path here. Should be able to make it. Alright, down into node 1, station's gonna open up. Butch, go high! Quick foot tag. Quick aileron roll. Through the lab. Into the ball form. A little spin into node 2 over Alex's crew quarters. And here we are at the very front end of the International Space Station. Still going 18,000 miles an hour.
Do you know that the average person on Earth uses 350 liters of water a day? That's over 1,400 cups of water. Water consumption is critical on Earth, but even more so here on the International Space Station, where we have a closed environment.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
Yeah, that's so wild. Try to push it in. 3, 2, 1. Oh, it made it out the other side.
It's a little too hard.
That is wild.
There, I think it's gonna stay in now.
Yeah, but you gotta get it from going back down.
Okay. What else can we get inside there? Now you're stuck in it?
You're being assimilated by the...
Pull out quickly. Oh, dude.
This is gonna get worse and worse.
Refilm it.
Dude, this is amazing. Look at that. Whoa. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely fascinating.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
All the essential things that you need, like your toothbrush and toothpaste and brush. See how much better the brush makes my hair look? I'm just joking. It still stands up straight. It doesn't matter where you are. It's always going to stand up straight while you're up in space. A lot of people ask about toothbrush and toothpaste. So, luckily enough, toothpaste, you can do it upside right this way, is sticky, and so it sticks to your toothbrush, no problem. Another cool thing is that water sticks to your toothbrush too. if you can see it. I'll have some water come out. The water is pretty neat up in space. It'll stick to your toothbrush and it will make a big bubble. And that's just by surface tension. And then you can drink it. So a lot of people ask about what do you do with the toothpaste after you brush your teeth. Two options. Swallow it, and it's sort of like mouthwash, but it tastes a little gross. Or you can just spit it out in a paper towel, and then you don't have to worry about it. Swallowing thing I wouldn't recommend at home. I'm only up here for 4 months, so it's not that bad.
Soapy water here in space. Mix it up. Well, got some on the outside apparently.
Hi there. I've had a lot of people ask me how I wash my hair in space, and I thought I'd show you how I do it. Let's see. To get started, these are the things I need. A bag of warm water, a little no-rinse shampoo, towel, and my comb. What I like to do is start by just putting some hot water, squirting it onto my scalp. And I have a mirror here so I can kind of watch what I'm doing. Sometimes the water gets away from you and you try and catch as much as you can. Then I just work the water up through to the ends of my hair. Then I take my no-rinse shampoo and squirt it also on the scalp, just a little bit, and rub it in. Again, kind of working it out to the ends. And sometimes I'll actually take my comb to help work it all the way to the ends. And I like to take my towel while I have the shampoo in there and just kind of work it. Because without standing under running water, you kind of need to use the towel a little bit to help get some of the dirt out. I like to follow that by a little more water. It's called no-rinse shampoo, but I think it's best if you use a little water with it. It actually feels kind of squeaky clean right now. Now I'll take the dry part of my towel. We use towels for quite a while here, since we have limited supplies. We use them wisely. There, I think that's pretty good. And now as my hair dries, as the water evaporates from my hair, it will become humidity in the air, and then our air conditioning system will collect that into condensate, and it won't be long, and our water processing system will turn that into drinking water.
Meanwhile, let's go back to the comfortable environment of life in space. And speaking of comforts, the comforts of home were not neglected either, as the astronauts could enjoy weekly showers, and if they could find a foothold, wash and shave, and even prepare their own food to individual taste. No more just eating out of a tube, as on earlier space flights. Crewmen enjoyed space luxuries never before available.
Today, me, Frank de Winne, together with my international crew, we are ready for another busy tasking day in the International Space Station. Like everybody who gets up to get to work, we first need to clean up a little bit. Now here in the space station, this is not so easy as we would do on Earth. We don't have showers, we don't have baths, and for sure we don't have a lot of water. So everything we do with minimal water possible. So in the morning we just freshen up a little bit, because during the day we do a lot of sports, and of course after the sporting sessions then we wash more properly. So let me show you how we will freshen up in the morning. First of all, we take our washing clothes. We have a bag with water, and this is what we use to freshen up. And yes, we have a very small bathroom here, which is just to the right of me, So let's have a look in our bathroom. As you can see, not very luxurious, but still it's enough space for us to do what we need to do. So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it. So we just put a little bit in our washcloth, as you can see here. And with gravity, of course, you can form nice bubbles and they can float away. That's why we need to be very careful. Here I'm just making a demonstration, but usually we don't do it like this. Usually we let all the water straight go into our washcloth and then we close it immediately so that we can't spill anything. And now it's washing time. As we said, it's just freshen up in the morning, so it will not take very long. So, that's about it. And now, of course, we also need to brush our teeth. This is very important as well for our health. Also here, we will use very little water. And we have also a very special technique. We still use a normal teeth brush. And we also use normal toothpaste. Again, we will be very economic with everything we are using on board of the space station. Just a few drops of water. As you can see, they are coming out here on my toothbrush. This is all we need. Some are floating away, so I'll try to catch them with my toothbrush. This is more than sufficient water to brush our teeth. Also toothpaste, we will use very little. On the ground as well, we often use too much toothpaste for what we need. So let's just use a very tiny little bit. More than enough. And now, it's actually like at home. However, I can't talk. As you have seen, when we are finished brushing our teeth, we can't use water to spool our mouth. So we just get rid of the toothpaste in a small cloth like this, which of course after a while we exchange. And then we use a little bit of water again to clean our toothbrush, because of course we need to keep it clean. So we use a little bit of water. There it goes again. Oops, here is a drop. That's it. And with this bit of water, and again our small cloth, we can clean our toothbrush, which we can replace regularly here on the space station. It's clean and we can use it tonight. So, that was most of our morning routine. Of course, we also need to get dressed and we also need to use the toilet. The toilet here is the same place as I was in before. It's also totally different than when we go to the toilet at home, because we don't have gravity, so we need a ventilator to be able to make all the fluids and all the nasty odors going away. This is the tube that we use to urinate, and we also have a small toilet here to use for the bigger bathroom. But of course, like at home, toilets are private, so I'm sorry, here you will have to miss the movie. Talk to you later. Bye.
As far as soap is concerned, it comes up in pouches like this one. You need to add water and then you get a nice liquid soap pouch, which needs to last for about 2 weeks. And it's a no-rinse type of soap. It doesn't make a lot of foam and it doesn't really need to be rinsed. And of course we do not have any running water up here, so we also need to fill up water pouches. We can connect pouches like this one to the water dispenser, which is in the nearby module in the US lab. And I personally like to fill it up with warm water when it's time to wash, but you can also fill it up with ambient temperature water. So I'll go ahead and do this right now, and I'll see you in a minute. Here I am, and I got my water. So first of all, I'd like to show you how water behaves in weightlessness, which is kind of interesting. Of course, it doesn't fall down like it does on Earth, and it kind of tends to stick to your skin because of surface tension. I don't know if you can see it. See, it doesn't really want to move away from your hand, just because of that surface tension effect.
We have power bricks. You see all these things, this blue bricks for power supply.
Just because it's a little bit difficult to control. So I'm actually going to dry it off. But if you have some time to be, to take your time and be careful, you can do that, I think. I do it sometimes. I really put some water on my skin like that. Just a little bit. And then I add some soap. Like that. And then you can carefully go ahead and rub it. And it actually really gives you a nice feeling of cleanliness. And then, as I said, I like to keep my actual towels here dry, so you can use them to dry off. Now, of course, you don't always have the time to take it slowly and be so careful. So if you are a little bit more in a rush, let's say it's a work day and you had your workout and then you have to rush off into something else, then you will simply, just squirt the water into your camping towel and add some soap, and that's a lot easier to control because you can just rub your skin like that. And I don't find it as pleasant, but it's certainly a lot quicker and easier to control. Now, all the water that you use eventually ends up in the towels that you use to dry. And we leave those towels close to a ventilation grate, like in this case you can see a ventilation grate right here, so that they can dry off. And all the water then is recuperated. It evaporates in the air, and then in the air conditioning system it condensates again, and it goes into our water recuperation bus, and it actually gets turned into potable water again. So we don't absolutely lose any of the water that we use to wash. Cutting your fingernails is not the easiest thing in weightlessness. Of course, you don't want to lose any pieces of nails around the cabin. So the best thing is actually to do it really close to a return grid of the ventilation system, so that all the pieces of nails that you cut off get immediately attracted, sucked towards the grid, kind of like this. There you go. And then when you're done, of course, you want to have a vacuum cleaner handy so that you can clean after yourself. And to wash your hair, we have a special no-rinse shampoo that requires theoretically no rinsing, but at least very little rinsing. So we just squirt water into our hair, we add some shampoo, we massage it just like we would on Earth, and then we kind of dry the excess water and shampoo off with a towel, and off we go.
Do you know that the average person on Earth uses 350 liters of water a day? That's over 1,400 cups of water. Water consumption is critical on Earth, but even more so here on the International Space Station, where we have a closed environment. From washing ourselves to making our coffee, or even when we sweat, the water that gets expelled is collected into a purification system. And we reclaim about 93% of all the water on board. Definite soapy water here in space. Mix it up. Well, got some on the outside apparently. Water used to be delivered in water-filled bags like this one. We brought them up on space shuttles and, of course, all of the visiting resupply vehicles. But since 2010, we've got a system on board that can purify the water real time. You don't have to take it out and store it in bags. We have filters and a keg-sized distiller that spins to create artificial gravity and move the wastewater along. And with it, we can recycle about 6,000 liters of extra water for the station each year. We even recycle our urine. But before you cringe at the thought of drinking your leftover wash water and your leftover urine, keep in mind that the water that we end up with is purer than most of the water that you drink on a daily basis at home. That makes the International Space Station its own self-contained environment. That's a critical step towards living for long periods off of planet Earth.
So water is also very dangerous on the space station because we have a lot of electricity, so we need to be very careful not to spill it.
The question is, if you get a cloth dripping wet without gravity and you wring it out, what's going to happen? What will happen to a wrung out cloth? So, and I had to use equipment that was here on board the space station. We may have the coolest washcloths ever here on the space station. I'm going to show you. Here's one of our washcloths. And it's compacted. It's put down into this little tiny hockey puck so that it saves space. But when you open up a hockey puck and you pull out your washcloth, this is the one I'm going to use for the experiment today. And so when you open up your hockey puck and turn it into a washcloth, it was compressed in a great big vise somewhere. Okay, so here's my washcloth, like a magic trick. And now I'm going to get this soaking wet, and then we're going to see what will happen when we wring it out. Meredith and Kendra suggested that I dip this in a bag, but bags don't hold water in space, so instead I filled a water bag. This has drinking water in it. And I'm going to squirt a bunch of water into this washcloth. Okay, so here's a soaking wet washcloth. Get the microphone so you can hear me while I'm talking. And now let's start wringing it out. It's really wet. It's becoming a tube of water. The water's all over my hands. In fact, it wrings out of the cloth into my hands. And if I let go of the cloth carefully, the water sort of has it stick to my hand. Okay, so the experiment worked beautifully. And the answer to the question is the water squeezes out of the cloth, and then because of the surface tension of the water, it actually runs along the surface of the cloth and then up into my hand, almost like you had Jell-O on your hands or gel on your hand, and it'll just stay there. Wonderful moisturizer on my hands. And the cloth doesn't really unravel itself. It just stays there floating like a dog's chew toy, soaking wet. Great experiment, worked perfectly. Meredith and Kendra, congratulations. Great idea.
It's going to come back to me, okay? I want to show you why we do these experiments, and that is because this is a bag of water, okay? And I'm squeezing. Let's see. So it's a brand new bag of water, and so my straw was a little crimped there. And I'm going to come a little closer, and you can see this giant blob of water. And we're getting to see in space, what do liquids really, really want to do?
Wow. That is amazing. That is amazing. So I'm curious, because I know you have kids at home. How do you stay close to your kids? Oh, wow.
We found housekeeping to be not as difficult as here on Earth. One reason was that we had a planned place for every item.
Personal hygiene-wise, it was necessary for us to perform up there about the same way it is here. We brushed our teeth, we combed our hair, we shaved, we washed. We did have a shower. We found, however, that we could almost keep clean enough by using sponge baths, by washing ourselves off with a wash rag. Although we did use the shower on several occasions, and I think for future space stations, the shower would be a good idea.